Good evening and welcome to Odds.com's college basketball show with your guy, yours truly, Maxwell Smart, who is coming off a very nice show performance. And I deserve the name Maxwell Smart today. So, obviously, I gave out 13 picks on the last show. It was minus the company and asset, the Master Jedi of Unders. But regardless, the numbers were right. The games came through. The players did their jobs. And 10 and 3 plus 6.7 units, it's not too shabby. I've had a couple shows where I've had records like that from the previous day. I'm looking to build on it. I'm looking to carry it over. And hopefully I picked the right games to do so. For the season, the record is now at 182 wins, 147 losses, 55.32%, and most importantly, better yet, making me very happy, 21.72 units. So I'm back over the 20 unit mark, looking to keep on climbing and rising. And of course, listen, when you come off a 10 and 3, 6.7 unit day, you don't have to use this ketchup and this banana, put them together, and then put them into my mouth. So I'm relieved. I'm happy. Glad that I don't have to do that again. And hopefully I will pick the right games, the right numbers, the right size and totals so that the only way that I eat ketchup and banana are separately and on equally delicious things that they belong on. So, in addition to being proud of myself and pumping my chest out, I did make sure that I came equipped today with the right kind of desserts and pastries that only a guy coming off a 6.7 unit winning day deserves. I got my apple pie, which is quite delicious, even though it comes in a box. Don't be fooled. This is good apple pie. And of course, because it's Valentine's Day coming up in a couple days, I got my Valentine's Day cookies. They're soft, they're delicious, and they make up for not having a Valentine. So what will make up even more for not having a Valentine is more winners. And enough about my food. Let's get into the games. So tonight I am going to be line shopping for myself. So forgive me if I'm not as smooth with my transitions, but this is a work in progress and we will get it right. I can guarantee that. So we're going to start off in the Big Sky. This is a game where we've already been on it, cashed on it, and we're going right back to the well with it. This is Idaho and Idaho State. The line opened up at 129.5. I'm seeing 129s, and I'm also seeing a couple 129.5s at U.S. legal books, which are the only books that we use on this show. I use American U.S. legal books to line shop, and that is what we're going to be using as far as keeping track for the show record. So with this side, it did open up at 10.5, and it has remained there aside from 110, which is a little bit juiced. And we'll get to that number and why I think it does have value in a little bit. These two guys played a couple days ago. We cashed on Idaho State. And listen, Idaho State did a better job of shooting the basketball from the field. They were able to cover up their blemish of 52% at the free throw line by dominating the glass and being plus 14 on the glass. They won the turnover battle, and they got good balance from their guards. And listen, all of them crashed the boards, whether it be freaking Malik Porter, Austin Smiley, Tariq Cool. They all gave assistance to Braden Parker in order to get those second chance opportunities, get those extra possessions. And frankly, this Idaho State defense is very underrated. This is a defense that is regularly allowing teams to score anywhere between 50 and 57, under 60 points a game. And they did a very good job of that. They came out strong. They built up a big double-digit lead. They kept Idaho under 30 in the game. And the Bengals shooting 44%, making 26 field goals on 59 attempts. That really gave them that boost. Hitting those shots early, getting confident early, helped this team. And I think that they're going to be able to do that. They controlled the entire game. Austin Smiley hit a three-pointer and opened the game, and this team never looked back. I think that with Tariq Cool and how he started the second half with back-to-back three-pointers, he set the tempo and he set the mood in the game, and you could tell that the Bengals were honed in and they were not going to allow this lead escape them. I think that with Malik Porter and Braden Parker being able to do some work on the glass, giving you some steals, giving you a couple blocks, Rob Ford with his offensive rebounding and his crash in the glass while handling the ball, Idaho State looked good against Idaho. When I look at this game, I would have lined this game somewhere around 13 or 14 points for Idaho State. I would have lined this game somewhere in the range of like 125.5 to 127.5. So you can obviously see where I'm going. With Idaho State, they just have to make more free throws than 52%. They have to win on the glass and the turnover battle, like I said. With their defense really showing its true colors right now and being at an even bigger advantage against the likes of Idaho, you have to dominate this game just like you did the other day. You're fighting for a top 5 spot, and you've gone under in multiple numbers at this number by margin. I think you have a first half advantage by my numbers now, updated of about 7 points. When it comes to field goal defense, this is where you're going to dominate. You're not going to allow them to make more than 20 field goal makes in a game. This is a spot where you're on the three-point line, your defense is stout, and you're capable of hitting the threes. Volume free throws is always going to make it better and easier to widen the gap and widen the margin. And from a defensive perspective on Idaho's personnel, if you can limit Damon Thacker's looks at the three-point line and stop Gabe Quinnett and him from having some uninterrupted ball movement, I just think that this is a bad matchup once again. I think this line is just a little too short. I'm going to take Idaho State once again. I'm going to take the -10. I'm going to take the -10 at -114. That is at Fox Bet. And I'm going to take the under 129.5, which is at -108, also at Fox Bet. So this is a game where, listen, I'm going right back to the well. I think that it's a good line. I think that it's a good number. And frankly, Idaho State has a lot more to play for right now, and I expect them to show that. So let's move on to the second game. We're going to move on to another game in the Big Sky, and that's going to be Montana State against Eastern Washington. So in this game against the other day, this was a high-scoring game. And I think that when you look at this game and this line, we're seeing an indication to that. This line opened at -4 for Eastern Washington and 152, and we've seen that line come down to 3 or 3.5, and we've seen the total come down to anywhere from 151.5 down to 150. I personally think that it's going to be hard for both these teams to lock each other down defensively. With both of these teams, they both shoot the ball well regularly, and the difference in the last game was the fact that Eastern Washington shot 53% and Montana State shot 37%. Another thing with that game was the fact that Jacob Davison didn't play, and Michael Meadows really had to step into that role and did a very good job, but can you really count on getting another 20 points from him in this game? I still think that there's lots of overs that both these teams have been involved with at this number, and they've been numbers that have gone over by margin. And when I see a 4-point or 5-point over margin, that's something that I take note of. I think that with both these teams, they score a lot of free throws. They get to the free throw line often. They're very aggressive with their ball handling. I think that with specifically Eastern Washington's ability to get on the offensive glass, and then Jabril Bellows' ability to get on the offensive glass, I think that there's going to be extra scoring opportunities, second chance opportunities, and free throw line trips because of fouling in those situations. Listen, Eastern Washington has showed themselves to be a very capable and stout road team. They've done it for your bankroll also. They tested themselves early in the season. And I think that with Montana State, this is just a team that has really hit the skids with an upper quality of competition. Listen, the Bobcats fell in consecutive games to Weber State. That was the end of a 7-game winning streak and their 6-game undefeated streak in Big Sky play. I think that even though they were able to lead and then cough up that lead, they weren't able to come back the next day and bring it. They still have a ton of growth, and even Danny Prinkle says that. I don't think that they're as close as where they can be as a team, but with COVID, it's just affected the development of players and team continuity so much. I think that for Montana State, this game is critical, but I think that the next 4 weeks are going to be even more critical. They got to keep on getting better, and they got to keep on getting better even though they're coming off losses. I expect this game definitely to be another Eastern Washington win, whether Davison plays or not. I just think that when you look at Jabril Bello, there are the Grove brothers, and they can go up against him. And then when Amin Adamu, him against Kim Aiken really nullifies them. So it's really going to come down to, in my opinion, what you get out of your guards. And with Robertson and Meadows, I think that they're going to be able to give you a better performance than Xavier Bishop. I think that both teams score more in the second half, usually 7 or 8 points more. I think that's going to help us. And with the way that both these teams shoot the three, 30 free throw makes combined in conference, aided by good ball distribution, 8 out of 10 overs for Eastern Washington in conference. This is a team that's built to win on the road, and they're built to go over while doing so. I'm going to take that over 150, which is at BetMGM, and I'm going to take Eastern Washington again. I think that getting 3 is still a good number. I do see a 3 at minus 105 at Bet365, so I'm going to take that. So this is just a team that I think that is on a different level. Montana State did good against weaker competition, and I think that they're going to feel the pain of that in this game. I think that it is an early start, so you do worry about this game starting slow, but even if they have a slow scoring first 4 minutes, I still expect with late game foul shooting for this game to find its way over. So I'm getting the best of the number on the U.S. legal markets right now, and I'm pretty happy about it. So we'll move on. I'm just going to write these down. So for the tweet with the picks. All right. So we're going to move on to another game. 2 down, 6 to go. And once again, guys, this is going to be a familiar game for you and for me because we just cashed, and we're going right back to the well. Texas Arlington versus Texas State. Well, we've seen a major line adjustment in this game, and we've seen it now. Texas State open up as a 7-point favorite down to 5.5 or 5. With the total, it opened at 127.5, and I'm seeing 128.5 across the board. So not much option there. But I do think that if it isn't broke, don't try and fix it. This is a big rivalry within Texas for both of these teams. And when you look at this Texas State Bobcat team, I've said it before, when they got rid of Danny Casper, this was a big change for this team. It brought them together. I think that we're going to see them do even better at home. I think that when you look at some of their home performances, they have been a little bit shaky. They have cost a bit of money, but I do think that with Texas State, they're looking to sweep, and I think that they're going to be able to. They're in first place in the West Division. They are in the CIT mid-major poll, and Texas' strength is their defense. They lead the Sun Belt with a scoring defense of 62.5 points a game. They rank 20 in Division One. The Bobcats definitely force a lot of turnovers, probably 15 to 17 a game, which is definitely top 50 in the nation. And with Texas State averaging close to 70 points a game while shooting over 45%, this is a team that shares the ball, moves the ball well, and takes good shots and doesn't try and force the issue. I think that with their three-point shooting, it's just another spot where I think that the odds makers are finally starting to respect the ability of Texas State. And with guys like Caleb Asbury, Mason Harrell, and Isaiah Small, you got versatile players. Harrell's going to be he's a guy that can give you 20. He's going to stretch the floor. He's going to make his free throws at above 80%. And he's also going to give you a little ball distribution. So I think that in conference, he's maintained his scoring average around 14 points a game. And it's gone really nicely along with Caleb Asbury, because Caleb Asbury, he's averaging around the same, but he's shooting 50% from the floor and over 45% from the three-point line. Then you throw in the fact that Isaiah Small has come in, worked his way into this lineup. The New Jersey natives played fantastically, and he's averaging 14 points per game in conference. He's hitting 63% from the floor, 54% from three-point range. And listen, if you can get that kind of versatility from the big man, all you need him to do is start making his goddamn free throws. I think that with the Mavericks, they've won a lot of games coming into this series, but they're going up against a team that just has a little better defense, going to make Shahada Wells and Sam Griffin work that much harder to get these three-point buckets. And without David Azori in the lineup, I don't want to oversimplify things, but the reality is this UTA team is beatable if you can shut one or the two of them down. When it comes to this total, there's lots of times that Texas State has played games at this number and it stayed under. I still have confidence in this number, even though my numbers say this is a 131 to 132.5 type game. I'm saying, screw you numbers. I'm going with what I know, what I've been watching, what I've been tracking. And what I've been tracking is the fact that Texas State's been going under by 2.5 points or more. So I'm going to say Texas State has this kind of formula to win this game and cover this number. Go and get a lead, get a good start. You're going to be able to win the battle in the field from a shooting perspective. And if you can lock down the three-point line better than you did in the second half of the previous game, then I think that you're going to be okay. You do have to learn how to pass out of their full court press and their trapping, but now that you have film on it, I'm sure that the assistant coaches are going to be hammering that in. Texas State needs to get to the free throw line more, and I think that you got to make sure that it's not Isaiah Small that the one that's going there all the time. And it just becomes a fundamental thing with Texas State. You have to have balanced scoring. That's when you're at your best. You got to take care of the ball. You cannot succumb to the pressure of UTA. And you have to return the favor. Don't let UTA operate in the half court, because Shahada Wells is going to eat you up from the mid-range. You got to go after them. You got to surprise them. You got to switch up the defenses. And listen, if you can stop Shahada Wells and Sam Griffin, you're going to win this game by 10 plus. If you can stop one of them, then I still believe that you can cover this 5.5 or 5 points. So I'm going to go back to what's been working, and I'm going to take the Texas State under 128.5, which is available at Bet365 at -110, and I'm going to take Texas State -5 at -110, available at Circa. So that's just what it is. I like the numbers. I disagree with my own numbers. And if that comes back to haunt me, then you guys will be able to roast me. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a Texas State team that is head and shoulders better. Of course, you worry about the zigzag when it comes to the total on the side, but I'm not. I'm going with it, and I will be washing my Texas State Bobcat shirt in the morning and then putting it on again when the game starts. So that would make game 3. Now we are on to a really interesting game. This is going to be a game that is a non-conference game, a game that was decided, brought together by the fact that teams need to play other games. And with all these postponements, you got to figure it out somehow. And Sacramento State and California Baptist found each other, and now they're going to find each other in a game that we're going to be able to watch and bet on. And the Lancers, they better hope that they don't get stung by these Hornets, because with the Sacramento State Hornets, they may find it easier to score versus the Lancers than they did against Eastern Washington. With Sacramento State, I really think that they should be more along the lines of a 5-point dog, 6-point dog. So there really isn't a ton of value on them in this game, because the line opened at 2.5 and it's down to 2 or 3, depending on where you're shopping. And with the total, I'm seeing anywhere from 144 to 145, where it opened at 144. So I think that there definitely is a variety of different ways that you can approach this game. It is important to know that Christian Terrell has returned to the lineup for Sacramento State, and with him and Zach Chappelle as your potential X-factor three-point shooters and offensive contributors, it does make it difficult for me to take Sacramento State. Does make it difficult for me not to take Sacramento State in this spot. But the issue is Sacramento State needs to hit threes. They need to get to the free throw line. They need to actually convert their free throws in the second half. They've had no issues converting them in the first half from what I've tracked. But when it comes to second halves and late game situations, we have seen them miss some free throws at some key times. I think that this could be a death sentence if they do that against Cal Baptist. With Sacramento State, listen, they're best suited for a low-tempo, low-possession type game where they are able to bleed the clock in the half court and end up, by their standards, with a three-point shot or an and one possible conversion. But with Cal Baptist, listen, this is a team that has had some problems at home. They've lost some games outright. They've lost some games in some tragic fashion. So I always make the presumption that this is going to be a team that's going to be taking their home performances that much more seriously. And with Cal Baptist, they know about blowing leads. They know about blowing leads at home. And when you did that against Southeast Louisiana, when you did it against Dixie State, I hope that these are lessons that are learned and built upon and not repeated. So with this Cal Baptist team, they could score the basketball. They got a multitude of different scores from different levels, whether it be my fellow Canadian Ty Rowell, whether it be Trey Armstrong, Reed Nottage, Mark Carbone from New Hampshire, even Elijah Thomas. So they got a lot of guys that can score the basketball for you. The question is, can they defend? Can they get their tempo? And I think that they're going to be able to. I think that as long as Cal Baptist can keep their turnovers under 10, they can go higher scoring in the second half once they've seen what Sacramento State's trying to do against them on defense. Then it's really just going to be a matter of what their efficiency is going to be, what their point per possession is going to be, what their point per minute pace is going to be. If both these teams can be successful and hit 35% or more from the three-point line against each other, get to the free throw line and convert their free throws higher than 70%, I do think that we're going to find a way over this number. I think that with good ball movement is going to be key from both teams, and you're going to probably get it. Brandon Davis on the Sacramento State side, and then a combination of Tyrell and Notage on the Cal Baptist side. I think that with some turnovers, hopefully they lead to fast break opportunities. But knowing Sacramento State, they're going to pull it back. So there is definitely the hope that Cal Baptist establishes a lead and then Sacramento State has to play their basketball to try and get back in it. And that's basically what I'm counting on. I do think that this line is razor close and razor thin when it comes to value, but I'm still going to take the over 144, which is available at Circa at minus 110. And I'm going to take Cal Baptist -2 at minus 110, also available at Circa. So that's how I'm going to roll. I definitely think that there is going to be a time in this game that I look and I'm like, okay, if I don't like what Cal Baptist is doing, I'm going to jump on Sacramento State live. But for show purposes, by my numbers, by the numbers, this is a Cal Baptist spot. If there was familiarity and experience with these coaching staffs coaching against each other in game, maybe I'd be approaching it differently. But at this time, with the injury situation and who's going to be available and who's not, I'm still seeing value with Cal Baptist, and I'm still seeing enough value and enough reason to get on the over. So over Cal Baptist, 144, and we're taking them -2. So let's move on to the next game, and we're going to the 8-10. A lot of early games. You're going to be done by 7 o'clock with my action, and that gives you times to go visit some ladies of the night, some local strippers. Support them. They need our money. They live lavish lifestyles, and they don't do that by working hard. They do that by men like us supporting them, or women for that matter. All right, so we're moving on to St. Louis and Fordham in the A10. I think that this is going to be a very predictable spot. Well, what do I know about Fordham? Well, Fordham fired Jeff Neubauer, and I think that it's definitely benefited the team. You can tell that they're definitely playing a lot more confident. You can tell that they are playing a lot happier, and I think that they're just going to run into a huge concrete roadblock called the St. Louis Billikens. Plain and simply, the Billikens are going for their third win in a row when they take on the Rams in the Bronx. I do recognize that it is that small gym, kind of weird surroundings. Teams have had trouble getting going there, but this is a different quality of team. This is not UMass. This is the St. Louis Billikens. And I just think that with St. Louis, I think Jordan Goodwin is going to be able to dominate. This is a guy that can handle the ball. This is a guy that can get on the glass. He's definitely in the position to pass a whole bunch of all-time Billiken records. So I do expect to see him score 15 to 20 points in this game. And I think that when you look at this roster, you know, you're getting so many different contributions from so many different areas, whether it be Fred Thatch coming off the bench and giving you freaking rebounding, whether it be Javonte Perkins being a three-point assassin in the second half and going off for 12 points and going 4 for 4 from three. You know, there's just so many weapons, and then you throw Hassan French in there. I think that some of the important matchups in this game is definitely going to be Joel Soriano against Hassan French. French is definitely going to be undersized in that matchup, but I do think that strength and skill will prevail, and I do think that we're going to see the St. Louis Billiken team be able to have a good time against Fordham. This line opened at 16.5, and we're seeing 17s also. The line opened on the total at 127.5, and that's there, and there's also 127s. With Fordham games, it's really hard not to take unders, so under 127.5 is definitely the way that I would be leaning towards. But from a side perspective, it's a St. Louis spotter pass. St. Louis scores 26 points more a game. They play equally, if not better, scoring defense per possession, per minute, per game. The way that they shoot the ball from the field, it can't be matched by anything Fordham's done in any game, even the LaSalle win. I think that St. Louis is going to dominate from the 3-point line. I think that they're going to have their way get to the free throw line with their guys' ability to drive. I think that a guy like Yuri Collins plays a big role in this game. And I think that with Javonte Perkins and Gibson Jimerson's ability to stretch the defense, I just don't see an opportunity for Fordham really staying in it. This is my formula for St. Louis covering this game. Keep Fordham under 30 in the first half. Go in with a 10-point or more lead. Volume free throws. Test the depth. Test the front court depth specifically with Ayesi and Joel Soriano. Close out on 3-point shooters. Chris Austin and Kyle Rose, they're going to shoot threes. Jalen Cobb, he's going to shoot threes. You got to stop these guys and close out on them without fouling. You have an offensive glass rebounding advantage. You have to exploit it. Get those extra possessions. Fordham takes a while with the ball moving into their offense. So getting aggressive and trying to take the ball away from them is definitely going to play in your favor. It's going to play in your favor in building up this lead and building up this margin. Ball security, that's the one thing. If you cough the ball up to Fordham, you're going to give them confidence in the momentum that they need to stay in this game. But if you put them out early, then you're going to be fine. Luckily, if you don't put them out early, Javonte Perkins does most of his damage in the second half. There have been 6 instances this year, 3 of the last 4 A-10 games, where he was scoring under single digits in the first half, only to have a double-digit scoring average in the second half. So this is a dangerous guy. And listen, Fordham's 2 victories have come funny against, well, it's actually funny that their wins have actually come against the 2 teams that have beat St. Louis. So throw that common opponent shit out. This is Billiken City, Billiken time. I like St. Louis. I'm taking the -16.5 at Bet365 at -110. And I'm going to take the under 127.5 also at Bet365 at -110. So riding with the Billikens. And I'm just writing this down because I have no host to do it for me. I miss Jimmy the Bag and I miss Noli Knows. But I'm here. I'm doing this. And we're going to find some winners. If not, I'm coming back on the next show with that dirty banana and that gross ketchup. Putting them together and I'm eating it for your amusement. Alrighty. Let's move on to another game. We got 3 games left. We're rolling. How we doing for time? Don't want to take you all up. We're only okay. We're good. So we're moving on to the SEC. This is the biggest game on my card. I saved this one, thought this one, think it's a great game and a great number. We are missing the best of the number. That is unfortunate, but I do not think that it is going to matter in the end. We are going to Missouri to play their first home game since the loss, and it's a rally for Ryan game against Arkansas. So this is the 6th annual game. This is a game that is basically for a daughter of Brad Lewis, and she is fighting her battle with patriotic cancer. So this is a big game for the Mizzou family. This is a big game for Mizzou alum, and this is definitely going to be a game that the coaching staff and specifically Quanzo Martin is going to want them to win. I think that in Mizzou's January 2nd victory over Arkansas, it was definitely a resounding victory, and I do worry about a little bit of revenge. But these are definitely 2 storied rivalries. They played the most out of any SEC opponent, and Mizzou's won and dominated them. So I think that they're going to keep on doing that tomorrow. With Missouri, listen, they're definitely a team that have been tested when it comes to strength of schedule, the quality of opponents that they're playing, and they've done a decent job. They have 3 wins over top 10 teams. They boast 4 ranked wins and 4 true road victories, but at home, they are equally lethal, equally dangerous. And I think that this is a team where ordinarily I would be going against the ranked team, but with Missouri opening as a pick'em and now anywhere from 2 to 3 point favorite with a total of 149 to 150, this is a game that I think that that Missouri is going to hit 75 plus. They're going to shoot over 45% from the field, and Drew Smith is going to have a good game. This is a Missouri team that is off a bad loss, like I said, very productive at home, but needs better overall shooting. They had a very strong second half in the game against Arkansas in Fayetteville. They're going to need something like that again. They got to get to the free throw line and own the defensive glass. They have the size in this matchup to do so. Connor Vanover may be a 7-footer, but he's brittle like this goddamn Valentine's Day cookie, which is soft and delicious, and I can't wait to eat it. Oh. Okay, so I'll stop. It's so good. Okay, back to basketball. I think that with Missouri, if they can cut down their turnovers, they can limit some of their fouling and just have a little bit better 3-point shooting or drop it all together. This is a team that, by my numbers, has a 5-point first half advantage. They do have to hide that free throw line efficiency issue, but if you take them first half, you don't have to worry about that. Better job on the offensive glass and just take care of the basketball. I think that with Mizzou, this is an Arkansas team that is going to probably come out strong. You're going to have to defend well without fouling. But by my numbers, they could have been a 7.5 or 8-point favorite. I just think that there's that big a gap between Missouri's defense and Arkansas's ability to score on that defense. We'll see tomorrow, but Missouri is definitely the spot for me. I'm going to take them -2 at -110 at Circa. That's the best line that I can get, and I'm comfortable taking it, I think that there definitely is something to be said when I have more than 3 points or 4 points of value on a line, and I'm definitely willing to make it a show pick and ride it out with you guys. So I will be watching this game on the SEC Network tomorrow. All right, let's move on. So we're going to go to a team that we just cashed against and another team that I like to bet on. So we're going to go back to the Ohio Valley Conference with Eastern Kentucky visiting Tennessee State. This line opened at 7 and pretty much 7s across the board, aside from a couple 7.5s. And the total opened at 145, and we're seeing anywhere between 146 and 146.5. Well, personally, I think that this game is as delicious as a vanilla birthday cupcake. It has the beautiful icing. It has the tasty softness. It goes down smooth, and you want another one. So with Eastern Kentucky, listen, this is a team that has dominated this Tennessee State team. Doesn't matter what year it is, but they smack them around, and I think they're going to smack them around again. I think that last year was an anomaly with Tennessee State being able to win at Eastern Kentucky, but I think Eastern Kentucky is going into Nashville and they're going to throw Tennessee State a beating. With Jayla Johnson having 26 points and 4 rebounds against Belmont. Excuse me, sorry, that is the wrong person. Just messed up there. Well, Eastern Kentucky is definitely going to be going into this game as a undervalued favorite. I think that with Eastern Kentucky, they have dominated Tennessee State, and I just expect them to keep on dominating them. When we look at Eastern Kentucky, they've made money for you, whether you've been betting them on the spread or you're betting their games over. With Tennessee State, they've been doing the opposite. They've been burning your money. They've been burning your money in conference, and if you've been betting overs with them, well, aside from the game against Morehead State, you've been losing money. So this is a Eastern Kentucky team that I think that just matches up very well with what Tennessee State wants to do. Tennessee State wants to go up tempo. Eastern Kentucky can go up tempo even more on them. I think that with Eastern Kentucky, the difference is they can convert a lot more often in an up tempo offense, more so than Tennessee State. I think that with Eastern Kentucky, you just got to get better shooting. And I think going up against Belmont and then going to Tennessee State is night and day difference. When you look at that Belmont game, they got down early. They were able to bring it back close to 10 or 12 at times in the second half, but foul trouble did them in, and injuries once again did them in. Kurt Lewis and Michael Moreno played limited minutes. Same with Trey King. He fouled out with foul trouble. Cooper Robb was ineffective from the field. Wendell Green was running the point, but he was 1 for 10 shooting. So I just think that if you look at the numbers, if you look at the stats, if you look at the metric sites even, which I don't necessarily say you should always go and use because whatever, this is an Eastern Kentucky double-digit win. I don't understand why this line is at 7 or 7.5. I had this line at 11.5 or 12. I think that this is a game where we just lay it on Eastern Kentucky and we just let it ride. Because with Eastern Kentucky, the plain bottom line is this is a better up-tempo team. They are an ATS gem. They are coming off a terrible Belmont loss. They play the kind of defense that can keep Tennessee State under 27 or maybe even under 25 in the first half. They're going to play better if the game gets to a higher tempo. And as long as they can get more field goal attempts, this is a team that suddenly figured it out from the three-point line in conference. They're hitting 10.5 3 points a game. They're making 5 more than Tennessee State is. And with their ability to crash offensive glass with Trey King and Michael Moreno, those 10.7 offensive rebounds a game are going to lead to some more buckets, and it could be the reason why we cover this game if it's closer than I expect it to be. I think that if Eastern Kentucky continues to be aggressive on-ball defenders like Mark Freeman, like Ravel Moody, like Shaheem Johnson, they're going to turn the ball over. They're not going to have their way getting shots that they want. And I think that Eastern Kentucky winning the turnover battle will end up helping us cash this spread. So I'm not going to think about it too hard. I just saw this line. I saw this number. I looked at my numbers. I was like, wow. Really? Okay, fine. So we're going to take Eastern Kentucky -7, -108, and that's available at BetMGM. So I think it's a good line. Hopefully it's a good enough line and it cashes for us. This is February basketball. Like Noli says, it's time to lock down. It's time to put up or shut up. And I think that the Colonials are going to put up and they're going to shut Tennessee State up. So put that in your pipe and smoke it because it's going down. So recording that, and now we're on to the last game. And I'll tell you guys, this is my favorite game because I chose this game special. I was like, I got to choose a Patriot League game. I am the Patriot League governor. And the Patriot League governor has chosen Colgate versus Army as our final game for the show. So, with Colgate and with Army, Colgate obviously had their game postponed recently when they were supposed to play Boston University. And listen, they've been doing a fantastic job in conference of winning games and dominating their opponent. They're undefeated on the road. And with Army, Army's been an ATS gem. They're 9-3 ATS on the season. They made you money, but so is Colgate. Army's just made you a little more money because they played more games. They were allowed to without the COVID shutdowns. The difference in this game for me is the fact that Colgate shoots the three-point ball so much better and defends it so much better than Army. And Army's free throw shooting, if it's going to come back to haunt them, this is the game that it's going to do so. Originally, I looked at this line and I was like, wow, I'm going to take Army on the spread because the line opened at 5, it's down to 4, and the total opened at 142.5, and you can see and get anywhere from 143.5 to 145. So a variety of different numbers that you can get on this total. And when it comes to the side, I think that there's a little bit of value on Colgate, but I don't think that there's enough to warrant me making a play full game. This is a spot where I definitely think that Colgate can win this game. It's just going to be a matter of what group shows up. We've seen them look bad in games against Holy Cross. We've seen them look good in games against Holy Cross. We've seen them dominate BU, but the last time they played this Army team, they lost by 2. So that was coming off the heels of a 40-point win plus. I think with Army, this is a spot where it's all about the number. And if you give me a number under 145, I have to take the over in this game. I don't think the fact that these teams have played against each other twice already really has a lot of merit. I think that Army naturally is a better first half team, and I think that Colgate is the better second half team. So in theory, I would be looking at Army first half at 2.5 or 3, and then I'd be looking at taking Colgate at -4 full game. But I'd prefer to bet live second half on Colgate. Obviously, for show purposes, I can't do that, and I'm going to have to make a decision. So the decision simply is going to be, I think that both these teams are going to be able to get to the free throw line against each other. I think that both these teams are going to be able to make enough that the total doesn't fall up 2 or 3 points short. And like I said, if I see a line and a total on this game that is under 150 and under 145, it's just an instant play. I think with Colgate, they have a lot of talent, but if Jordan Burns has an off shooting game, that could really hurt our cause. We need him to be effective at getting to the free throw line, effective from the 3-point line, and we need guys like Nelly Cummings and Keegan Records and Tucker Richardson also to have offensive games. These guys do a good job of crashing the defensive glass. They need to be able to turn those defensive rebounds into transition opportunities and have multiple guys that are facilitating for each other. I think that Colgate and Army are going to have a fast start. I think that this game is going over. I'm going to take 143.5 as my pick for the game. And I will give you my lean. I'll say that Army first half and Colgate full game would be my lean. But for the show, I'm only going to take over 143.5. And that's available at Bet365. So I think that this is a line at -110 that is cashable. The Vega is acceptable. And with the familiarity of these two teams, it definitely does give you the inclination that maybe they lock down defense on each other. But if this game's close, it's going to be some late game fouling. Hopefully we don't need that. But if we do, that hopefully will be the thing that puts us over the edge. It is important to note that both these teams are exceptionally high first half scoring teams, and Colgate's a very good second half scoring team where they on average in conference put up 44 points. Both teams shoot over 44%. Both teams combine for 16 threes. The only issue is Colgate's defense on the 3-point line going to be a stout where they only allow 5 makes and 24% in conference. Lots of free throws because Army misses a lot of free throws. Good ball movement. Both these teams combined for 30 assists and 14 steals, and there's not a lot of rim protection except for Keegan Records on Colgate. I personally think that this is going to be a game that finds its way over. Said it a couple times. I feel strongly about it. Not telling you to put your mortgage or your kid's future on it. Don't freaking trade your kid to your local. Don't do that. Human trafficking is not good. But I'll say this. Put your standard unit bet on this, and hopefully we cash. So, Army over 143.5, -110, available at Bet365. Now, forgive me, I will take a sip of apple juice. Usually I have breaks to take drinks when I have a host. Of course, tonight I don't have one. And that's about it. So, thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a fun 48 minutes, and let me do a recap. So, we're starting off with Idaho State -10, -110 at Fox Bet, and under 129.5, -110 at Fox Bet. Then we go to Eastern Washington and Montana State, where I am taking Eastern Washington at -3, -110 at Bet365, and I'm taking the over 150 at -110 at BetMGM. I am then taking Texas State -5, -110 at Circa, and I'm taking the under once again at 128.5, -110 at Bet365. I then go to a non-conference game between Cal Baptist and Sacramento State, where I am taking Cal Baptist -2, -110 available at Circa. And I'm also taking the over 144, -110 available at Circa. Then we go to the A10, where we take the powerhouse Billikens of St. Louis -16.5, -110 at Bet365, and the under 127.5, -110 available also at Bet365. Then we go to a big boy, a big bad boy, a clash in the SEC, Missouri and Arkansas. And I'm taking Missouri -2, -110 available at the good old big baller Circa. So, real excited for that game. Look forward to it. Look forward to all these games tomorrow. Just hopefully I'll be in the right mental state that I can live bet and successfully make money on them. Then we go to the Ohio Valley Conference with Eastern Kentucky visiting Tennessee State. And I'll tell you this, I took Eastern Kentucky -7, -108 available at BetMGM. Let's go Colonials. And lastly, the Patriot League governor has spoken. The Patriot League governor says, take Army and Colgate over 143.5 available at Bet365 -110. That's it for me, guys. It's been a fun show. It's been fun breaking down these games. It's been really fun having the roller coaster go up. Hopefully the roller coaster will keep on going up. And hopefully next time that you see me, I'll have a running mate. Until then, eat your birthday cupcakes. Have your slices of apple pie. Get yourself some very soft Valentine cookies. And don't make fun of me for drinking apple juice and water. It's my favorite drink. Thanks very much. Take care, guys.